Major funding for these programs is made possible by grants from Chase Commercial Term Lending, New York Community Bank, Capital One Bank, Perfect Building Maintenance, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Genova Burns, Terra CRG, Meridian Capital Group, Wyckoff Organization. Additional support is made possible by AKA Hotels Corman Communities, Aerial Property Advisors, AmTrust Title, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Citizens Bank, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, CPEX Real Estate Services, Cushman & Wakefield, Dime Savings Bank of Williamsburg, Fisher Brothers, Flushing Bank, Friedman, Handler Real Estate Organization, HAP Investments, Hersha Hospitality, Hodges Ward Elliott, Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Commerce Bank, Newbanks, Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rosewood Realty Group, SJP Properties, Sterling National Bank, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, The Continuum Company, The Moynihan Group, and these friends.
It's called the North Fork. It's called the Hamptons. It's a place where people get on the road and just sit in traffic for hours. But there are a lot of things going on in that market. So today I've assembled three interesting individuals to provide me and my viewers an insight on what's happening in that market. My guests today include Stephen Dubb, who's a principal at the Beechwood Organization, Peter Carroll, who is a partner at Oliver Wyman and the proprietor of Lens Vineyards Winery. And last but not least, my friend Charles Massoud, who is the proprietor of Pominock Vineyards and also a member of the board of Bridgehampton National Bank. Charles, since you've been nice enough to bring one of your wines, will you open it for us?
But of course, I'm so thirsty. I was waiting for you to give us the go. By the way, you can also call it the Riviera of New York. You know, the East End and the North Fork and the Hamptons, they're to New York City like the Riviera is to Paris and the other places.
But relating to that, we got to ask the builder, the home builder, okay, who also builds shopping centers, but predominantly homes, who's been involved with properties in the North Fork and in the Hamptons. What's going on?
Well, there's a lot going on. We opened our development called Bishop's Pond.
Only good things in the North Fork and the Hamptons. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
So Bishop's Pond, which is in Southampton.
Bishop's Pond's in Southampton Village. It's started as 69 condominiums, townhomes, two products, townhomes and villas. So you could either have a two-story townhouse or a villa, which was single-level living. There was one over another. But we opened Bishop's Pond in 2013 and sold 42 houses in the span of 3 months. From
what do you attribute the success? Because, you know, people want to be out there, but people, when they hear the Hamptons or even the North Fork, there's a perception of a very expensive home.
Yeah, so that's actually what I love about it, because we worked on that project for years before we were able to put a shovel in the ground and open for sales. And my friends who work in New York real estate, when I talk to them about it, would all say to me, nobody wants a condo in the Hamptons. They want you go out there to have a single family home. And coming at things from the perspective that we do, understanding that people really do like maintenance-free living, because we build it all over Long Island and the boroughs. we thought, we had this idea that people would go for a nicely done condominium in the Hamptons, because we felt that there were people who love being out there and being in the area, but are maybe getting up there in years and don't want to deal with the maintenance of a house anymore.
Are you emphasizing the three of us sitting here?
He glanced at me when he said that.
I'll make eye contact with the camera. I won't look at you guys specifically. So we had this idea that people might really like it if we could do it in a nice way, because it actually, a lot of people think it's the first time condos were built in the Hamptons. It's not true. They were built in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, but they were small. At that point, they were old. It was dated.
Right, they were small units where somebody could come out there for a weekend, maybe a 1 or 2 bedroom, or even certain places, efficiencies or studios.
Right. And so there wasn't anything that was up to today's standards, the standards of today's construction and living. And so we built big units. They were finished like some of the nicest custom spec homes that would be built in the Hamptons. So when you're inside the house, it feels like you're in a huge spec home.
And you're not far from the village of Southampton.
Right. Well, we're in the village, but you're a 5-minute drive, a 7-minute bike ride to the beaches. So it was located really well. And we opened in 2013, which was it turned out to be the end of the housing recession, but we didn't know it at the time. So we weren't sure how it was going to go, and we were pleasantly surprised at the amount of demand there was for the product. And we sort of proved. We opened at the same time as the Watch Case Factory in Sag Harbor, and both of us sold really, really well, raised prices, proved that there's demand from people who want to be in the Hamptons but don't want a high-maintenance home.
So how many years have you been there, both as a resident and a winemaker?
We first started to live on the North Fork in 82 or 3, but have lived in New Suffolk for about 15 to 18 years now.
So what are we seeing today with regard to the developments? Because, Mr. Dubb also has another development, which we'll talk about in Riverhead. But what are you seeing in the North Fork developments and what's happening?
Yeah, well, I'm not in the real estate business.
No,
My
but
view is very
you're out
naive.
there.
Yeah, so what I see is there's pressure from the towns to create more affordable housing, and there's tremendous conservatism and resistance from all the residents to that. What I think even I can see, though, is the big change we were talking about before the show in Greenport, which even as little as 10 years ago was kind of run down and not a lot of fun. It's really changed, and it now is sort of a destination and a location. And I have friends who recently moved there, and they make the point that everything for them is within walking distance, which generally in a lot of the Hamptons and even a lot of the North Fork towns isn't true. So I would imagine from a condominium point of view, it's easier to locate successful condominiums near some kind of critical mass concentration that's not just houses. But
The negative
Right.
of Greenport is the distance. It's like going to East Hampton and Amagansett. It's really, from the city, it's a long trip. When you get out there, it's fine. You don't mind being there. Now, Charles, your vineyard is in
Aquagua, yep.
but which is Riverhead also.
Part of the town
over
of
there.
Riverhead, correct.
Riverhead, if I remember, let's go back 10, 15. The first thing that really developed on the route was Tanger 1, then Tanger 2, and then the additional shopping centers. So what has grown over there is the immense number of shopping centers, including a Costco right now, and seeing that. But you have a double thing. So you have the vineyard and you also have the bank. As the board of director of the bank, what type of things have you been seeing with regard to commercial development?
Well, it's ongoing. It's been so strong, as I was telling you. I joined the bank in 2002, and since then, the growth has been phenomenal. The example I give is when we started on the North Fork, I used to almost cross the street to my neighbors without even looking at traffic. That was in 1983, 84. Today, if I want to make a right-hand turn, sometimes I have to wait 4 or 5 minutes. The North Fork has become a bedroom community as well as a summer destination. Bedroom community for people who work in Katchog and Hauppauge. It's a very desirable place. There's a retirement, there are communities for 55 and older. So there's been a lot of growth. What used to be trailer parks have been switched over to other destinations. So we have, therefore, much higher level of housing that has been developed on the North Fork. And as a result, the traffic has grown tremendously.
With regard to the North Fork, you had these two developments in Riverhead. Let's talk about them and how they did and what's going on. And I also think it's really important to emphasize the discussion with regard to real estate taxes, house versus condominium.
Sure. Yeah. So we came in and finished two communities in Riverhead. One was in the town of in Aquebogue. The other is in Riverhead. Last 14 lots in two communities that were about 70 homes each. Both of them are on very famous golf courses. One overlooks Cherry Creek, the other Long Island National. And we bought the remaining lots from a developer who had been building there for years, I think close to 10 years, and decided they were done. And so we came in. And the thing that struck me about the North Fork, and I think the thing that really brings our buyers out there, is how beautiful it is. And people talk about the Hamptons being beautiful, but when you drive onto the North Fork, especially when you come out of Riverhead, you get into this open expanse of farmland for as far as you can see. And there's nowhere else on Long Island anymore.
Coupled with the fact that you have two golf courses
Right.
that are surrounding your property.
Right. And
Nearby wineries.
right. It's like no, but it's like nothing else on Long Island. Not even the Hamptons. And it's really a special place. And the nice thing about the town of Riverhead is, and this is something that normally wouldn't come out of my mouth as a developer, but in their planning process, you're required to dedicate a lot of land to ag land when you develop. So they've sort of ensured that that character is going to be preserved in perpetuity, and that's what makes it really special. But as far as the two communities go, these are single-family homes. They're reasonably priced for Long Island and for the East End at anywhere from the high fours to the mid sixes. And they overlook these two golf courses, or they overlook farmland that's preserved in perpetuity. It's stunningly beautiful. For us, it was a total of 28 homes. We've got one home left to sell at this point. We've had 2 summer selling seasons, and we've sold pretty well. The biggest, you mentioned taxes, the biggest detriment to selling homes out there is the high real estate taxes.
Okay, what is the difference between a sale of a residence as compared to a sale of a condominium?
So in Suffolk County has very high taxes generally to begin with. There are parts that don't, but overall they have high taxes. But a condominium in Suffolk County gets taxed at 1/3 the rate that that same priced house would sell for. So if a house that you're going to sell for $600,000 will have $18,000 a year in real estate taxes, a condominium sold for $600,000 will have about $6,000 a year in real estate taxes.
Now, one of the other developments which will help sales, perhaps, in your new development in Southampton, also help the wine business on the North Fork, is the development that the Discovery Land Company is involved with. This is the former Dune Deck property on Dune Road in West Hampton Beach. It's only about 1.5 miles or 2 miles from the heart of West Hampton Beach, and it is approved, which is interesting, for 32 two-bedroom apartments in a hotel. So it'll probably go into the hotel pool eventually, when somebody else is not using it, we're like some of the hotel sharing situations. And it's supposed to have a restaurant and other amenities tied into a potential program in Quogue. You familiar with that? Let's talk about East Quogue.
So I know a little bit about their plans in Quogue and how they tie into West Hampton. And from what I know of Land Discovery, they've done great projects. They always add value when they build. And I think they've got a very good plan compared to what most other developers would do on that property.
They're supposed to build about 600 homes, I believe, in East Quogue, and it's probably next to a golf course because there's part of it's supposed to be a golf course, and this would be an amenity of the golf course that they could use the property over there. But I think it's been temporarily and held. But I noticed that they just spent money putting oysters down in East Quogue. Since you're a boatman, what is this thing with the oysters?
Some friends of mine are oyster farmers, and I haven't really mastered the technicalities, but apparently it's comparatively easy to farm oysters. They put these big metal cages.
But it
in
also
the water.
does something for the environment, right?
One oyster can filter 50 gallons of water a day. So one of the problems with the waterways out east are a lot of them are shallow, some are polluted, and the oysters have died off or been killed off. And so one of the things that's in vogue environmentally these days is planting, I don't know the term for it, but these groups of oysters, these beds of oysters, and they help filter the water.
It always worries me though, because then you eat the oyster.
Right.
Well, but I mean, it's going back to what it used to be, because it used to be a major oyster ground, the bay, oyster and scallops. There was a time where the bay used to sell scallops all over the country. There was such a high scallop production.
There was once a time that Pominock was a potato farm.
Right.
And Lens.
Okay,
Right.
and Lens. So let's get to what's happening, as I've said numerous over the last couple of years about the quality and the wine business. What's happening in the wine business, which is one of the major industries of the North Fork?
Well, I think, Peter came to Long Island in '82, we came in '83. I think by now the vines are pretty old and the root ball is very big underground. We have learned to make better wines. The vines are capable of producing better grapes. And as a result, the quality is way up. I think, in the old days, there was some insecurity amongst our colleagues and ourselves in that we solicited a lot of publications to come and taste and give us rating and all that. Today, the wines are selling, the markets are growing. Most of us don't have any inventory at the end of the year. And so it's a good story. New York City has finally discovered Long Island. We have so many restaurants that are serving Long Island wines, and we are now selling wine in kegs for people who want to pour by the glass. And so it's turning out that finally we're where we never thought we were going to get to, which is the fact that Long Island wines are sought after, and we are moving very good.
What about there had been, unfortunately, a couple of your vineyard friends passed on due to sickness or accidents. What's happening with regard to the sale of these vineyards and these properties?
Unfortunately, in our group when we started, there were like 12 wineries, and we were like the 10th or so. Today, Ursula and I are probably the oldest living couple who started that original group, because all of our colleagues have either died or sold or went out of business. And so there are a few properties that are for sale, but the heirs are running them, and therefore they continue to run the same way. So there hasn't been any major downturn that is, where you say, because the owner died, the business went. No, luckily they're carrying on. Like you have Borghese, you have Pindar, you have Palmer, to pick three examples where the owners have died, and yet the heirs are continuing and doing a pretty good job.
With regard to what you were saying before on, the wines being accepted more in the mainstream in New York and around the world,
New York has become a major market. I mean, I have to tell you, we sell more wine in New York than in Nassau County.
But one thing I remember Peter talking about over the years is that at one time you really depended on the wine clubs as opposed to distributors, and you preferred, because you were making a higher markup, to deal with the wine clubs as opposed to distributors. Today you've come of age, would you say, to take more on the distributors?
You might say that. No, I'm still, in terms of strategy, Charles and I are a little different. At Lens, we do try to emphasize sales directly to consumers, whether that's, what we call walk-ins or wine club members, and partly because we don't produce that much and we're not looking to double our production. It's better to sell directly. But
Yeah,
I think
actually,
what
we're not that different, because in dollar volume, we sell about 60% at retail to the tasting room and the wine club. Both are very important. But I have 4 households to support, our 3 sons and ourselves. And the only way you do that is by growing the production. And therefore, what we cannot sell in the tasting room, we sell to the restaurants. And restaurants have become really,
So you're selling to restaurants, or are you also selling to distributors who are selling to liquor stores? Or
No, we
the
sell-
word liquor store is no longer
we self-distribute.
cachet. Wines.
We don't have a distributor. We self-distribute our wine. So we sell to stores as well. I mean, we have several stores in the city and many on Long Island. But restaurants, the wine gets drunk. It doesn't go on the shelves. It's you want to move it, and therefore, we want to follow our clients. People who come in the summer to taste the wine at the winery. It would be nice if, when they go out to eat in the city, that the wine is also on the list, that they can order the same. And there's synergy between the two. So we have increased our production because out of necessity.
So here's a question which relates to all 3 businesses. It's advertising. I picked up last week the Dan's newspaper, which is no longer the same Dan's, but it's still one of probably the largest circulation out at the beach. I saw your full-page ad, which advertised, your developments around, including Bishop's Pond, including, we'll talk about the newest project. It had a full-page ad, I believe, for you with regard to certain dinners. Okay? And you've been receiving, you don't really advertise much, but you've been getting a lot of PR.
Yeah.
How important is this advertising today?
Well, I'm a big believer in Sam Wanamaker's anecdote about 50% is wasted. I don't know which half. What we try to do with our advertising is bring people to the winery. So we don't try to sell wine. We basically try to bring people. Our real promotion and merchandising, in a sense, happens once we get people there. So we're not trying to.
But you have
sell
these
wine.
wine dinners.
Yes.
I think it was advertising for wine dinners as.
We do.
I'm going to do a marriage, or as we would say in the trade, shidduch, that we're going to have wines at Beechwood Properties.
Sure. Well, we do one major dinner, and we call it Dinner in the Vines. It's usually in the middle of August, and we set up a big long table. It's not an original idea. It's been done elsewhere. Works very well,
Pomona.
I would say. Pardon?
It's been done at Pomona first.
Yeah, sure. Probably you started it. We stole the idea, but
The whole question is, I'm not into lamb. Otherwise, I would.
I would say 50% of the people who come to the dinner, and it's usually about 100 to 115 people. So 50% are wine club members, half of the rest are their guests, and then the rest are people who just want to try. And so we see it as strong reinforcement for being in the wine club, because if you're in the wine club, the tickets are discounted, so it's a sort of convivial thing.
And you, with regard to advertising?
I feel like it's important to be in the local publications. So we advertise in Dan's and we advertise in Hamptons Magazine, and there are a few more out there now, Beach, and there's Long Island Pulse that I think hits the whole island. But the trend that we've seen, and it's really been a sea change in the last couple of years, is print advertising has become far less effective, and most of the traffic that we drive into our sales centers, and it's not just on the East End, but in central western Suffolk, Nassau, Queens, Bronx, they respond to some form of internet marketing, whether it's search engine optimization or e-blasts or...
Right.
Two markets that I want to catch on before we brought up Sag Harbor a little bit. How do we see the
Wait a
Sag
second,
Harbor?
let me say something about advertising, because we don't advertise. I mean, I advertise in the wine press because it's something that I feel
Right, it's your
responsible for, since I created it with Troy Gustafson in the old days. But advertising works very well if you flood the mass media. You know,
It's the question of volume.
you want it to work on the subliminal part of your consciousness. It's like when you want to go buy toothpaste. I mean, what are you going to think about? You're going to think about Crest. You're going to think about whatever the brands are. To get Pomanock to that level, I need millions and millions of dollars that I don't have. So if I put a little bit here, a little bit there, it doesn't register.
See, but part of what Stephen is saying, which I'm a firm believer, is if you use the appropriate social media, which is
Well,
less
but,
expensive.
So
okay,
that was going to be my point. We have a Facebook page that Kareem is actually very active at, and that works because it's really doesn't cost us anything.
But
it works extremely well.
besides the Facebook page, and my friend Drew Naporent, who's been on the show numerous times, today Instagram, especially in all of your businesses, are very important because they're short, they're to the point, and then there's also a new program which even Martha Stewart recently initiated with Facebook Live, which is inexpensive approach where you make your own show and then you send it. So you can get the Facebook Live where they go on Facebook and then they can be posted to YouTube.
I mean, in our business, what is best is to try to get editorial content. Editorial content trumps everything. I mean, when you read an article about, because the ad, you know, you're skipping pages, you may or may not see it, but the editorial content, that's what you're reading the paper for. And if you're mentioned in there, that registers far better. We see a lot more people acting on having read something about us.
There was, with regard to that, you had a wonderful article in Wine Enthusiast and also in...
Yeah, I mean, we have done very well with...
and in a similar vein, there was a really good article that recently appeared in The Real Deal about the Beechwood organization. And, you know, there's always been...
Those are the best, really.
Those are the best. So, in conclusion, I'd say that besides the fact that the wine business is doing well, the North Fork seems to be growing in leaps and bounds. Hopefully there'll be something done in Riverside, which is a question that's renaissance. You recently, with the acquisition of the new hotel,
The Village Latch,
which you will make into
23 condominiums.
Okay, and you know, hopefully as the season progresses, we'll continue on with North Fork and Wines. And thank you very much for bringing us our little vineyard.
And thank you for
choices.
inviting us again. This is becoming a yearly affair, and we love it. So
Thank
it's
you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.